Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 12 of Before the Fork, the 28-day experience. I hope everyone had a fantastic Saturday night. You can see from the video last night that we had a lot of fun. It was a very, very long day of preparation, but at the end of the day, everything was absolutely perfect. So I'm here with you this morning on day 12. I have lost track of what day it is in phase 2, but anyway, we're day 12 into the program. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is the bar you have set for your new nutritional standards. How did you establish the bar? What's the bar rooted in? What are you relying on to honor your new nutritional bar? And I want to take this back to, hi Peggy. I want to take this back to my reinvention, my transformation. And one of my main driving forces behind my transformation was the integrity of nutrition that I fed to my children. That was paramount to me. So my bar was set, and because I do get a lot of external validation, it's just how I am, it's just who I am. I knew that it was important for me to help my children establish nutritional parameters that served them. So my bar was more deeply rooted in how it would honor my children, and just by effect, it would honor me as well. So I knew that I couldn't compromise, nor would I ever cheat my children. And because of that, I was able to be very, very hard. Once that line was drawn to my nutritional standards and my commitment to that 80%, once that commitment was beyond a shadow of a doubt solid, and I discovered the 5-ingredient rule, and I discovered, the partitioning of my nutrition with the 80-20 split, when I found the energy to go that extra mile and pack my children's snacks and recommit our lives to the family dinner table and all that entailed, then I knew I would never let my nutritional bar drop to where it had been for those 4 years that I was lost in the wilderness of life. So once I set the hard bar, or just set the new guidelines for myself and my family, there was no turning back. I just was never going to go back to that fast food mom. I was never going to go back to that go get something for dinner at the concession mom. And that's not a judgment. Realize this was my personal choice. So that's not a judgment against any mother that is where I was in those 4 years, which was struggling just to get through the days without so much self-judgment that I went to bed at night just feeling like, well, you really knocked it out of the park today. Just a lot of self-judgment, a lot of ugly emotions that went into that. So it isn't a judgment. I've been there. I totally understand what it means to say, let's just swing through Winn-Dixie or through Wendy's, or let's just swing through Taco Bell. Let's get dinner at the concession stand. It took a tremendous amount of energy to pack my children's snacks, to work through their frustration when I wouldn't allow certain foods for them to eat certain foods. That was frustrating for a child, but I had the wherewithal because I was so committed to my new bar, my new nutritional standard for them as well as myself and my husband. So one quote that Anthony Robbins has used, and we all know who Tony Robbins is. He is a hardcore brain trainer that really evokes, he's not a motivator, he is really a brain trainer, because like me, he wants to provide you with tools so that you can orchestrate your own life. No good trainer worth their salt wants any student to rely on them solely for the duration of whatever it is that they're moving through. A good trainer wants to provide you with every tool that you need to turn into a trainer yourself, should that be the calling of your life. Always be suspect of a trainer that continually wants to keep giving you different different tools. They should be revealing their entire toolbox to you, because their job is to empower you with the tools. So I love one of his phrases, and it's burn the boat and storm the shores. And this is pretty much what happened to me that morning in the hall when I collapsed and just couldn't go on any longer the way things were. I burned the boat. There was no going back to how life had been for all of those years I was lost. I was just lost in the wilderness. I burned the boat that morning, and with God's grace and God's help and God's light and his direction and his strength, I was able to reclaim not only my life, but I was able to finally feel as if I was serving God in a way through my children, through my husband. I felt like finally I had the parameters and I had the system that would give my children the tools to navigate their food world from a much more healthful perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that my children are perfect. It doesn't mean that they all walk the walk 100% of the time. They're their own unique individuals. And so I have to recognize that now too. My youngest son is 18. My oldest son is 26. So I have to understand that they are their own people, and they will or they will not continue to honor 80-20 as they move through life. Totally up to them. Again, with no judgment on them. But I feel as their mother, I did my job. And that's what was important to me. What they ultimately choose is, I bless that. They're wonderful, wonderful people. So I did burn the boat. I did storm the shore. It took God's help. Every step of that took God's help. It took me being in alignment with God's will for my life that made it so whole and so complete. So today's message, this is a little bit of a short one. I hope that's a treat for y'all, is if you are not finding that your bar is high enough, if you still feel as if your bar is low, I want you to draw on some sources around you. I drew on my children. That was my source of strength. My children have been my source for everything. Whether it's the future grandchildren in my mind that I knew were coming, or whether it was my littles that were in my home that I was raising and molding and shaping. Either way, it was the importance of being that role model to them that meant everything to me. Any insight I have comes from being a mom, comes from navigating big family relationships. A lot of, people will look at big families and they say, oh, you're so blessed to have so many. We are absolutely blessed because there's tons of us. Greg and I have 26 nieces and nephews. We have, I can't even count how many great nieces and nephews. And so we are absolutely blessed. But with that dynamic also comes a lot of tricky relational navigation. And that takes God's strength and God's help as well. It takes a very open mind, a very open heart, a lot of acceptance, a lot of allowance, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of patience, a lot of faith. I remember when the boys were little and we would go on road trips. One of the things that I would tell them is to pack their patience and to always allow each other room to be human. And what I meant by that, and they knew what I meant by that. And basically what I meant was everyone makes mistakes. So don't be so critical of your brother that they can't be human around you. Allow them to be human around you, and give everyone a little extra space to be human when you're in those tight corners of vacationing together, because fights could break. You have 4 boys growing in testosterone. Every year that we would go do something together, fights could certainly break out. So that seemed to really work with the kids. Give each other room to be human. And then if anyone got buggy or got irritated, they were allowed to go off and be by themselves and recharge in whatever way they needed to recharge. So that's my message tonight, or today, this morning, is check your bar. Make sure that your bar is solid. This is going to tie into your desired self story, absolutely. But if you're not feeling the depth of commitment to 80-20 that you feel you need to be, then look around and try to find some other things that you can honor that will give it a new level of importance. I'm going to give you one more thing before we end. This just came to my mind. Greg's father has passed away. He's no longer with us. And the same Army base that he trained on over 65 years ago, Mac, my number 2, is going to next weekend to start his Special Force training. And so when Mac and I are talking about him leaving and how Papa isn't here to see him, but we know that he is so, so proud of him, I told Mac, I said, they say that if you go through your force training, all of your Army training for yourself, that the chances of success are average. But if you dedicate your training to someone else, and every day it's not about getting up for you, it's about getting up for them, then your chances of success jump from here to here. And so Mac is going into his military training, dedicating it to his Papa Don. And I think that will be the edge that will get him through. Some of the most difficult days of his life are lying right ahead, right in front of him. And I think that little shift of dedicating his training to his Papa is going to be what makes the difference. So check your bar, check your reasons, check your purpose. And if it's not feeling shored up and doing it for yourself just doesn't feel like enough emotional fuel, then look around and do it for someone you love deeply. And it's going to give you that extra kick that you need to choose them when you're actually choosing yourself for them. So I love you all. Have a super blessed day, and I'll be back with you tonight. I'm not sure what that looks like or what time that's going to be. Rowdy, my 18-year-old, is getting baptized tonight. So we're just going to have to see how the day plays out. I may come to you a little bit early. I may come to you a little bit late. I'm just not sure. But regardless, I'll be there. So y'all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you tonight. Bye now.